It is a fine example of the great Victorian Gothic Revival, built on the site of the former city jail, which had been opened in 1826 and moved in 1881 to its present location. Designed by George Gilbert Scott Jr., it was the generous gift to the Catholics of Norwich from Henry Fitzalan Howard, the 15th Duke of Norfolk. Following an approach by Canon Richard Duckett, the Duke commissioned the building and took a keen interest in every aspect of its design, from its initial conception in the early 1870s to its completion and dedication in 1910. His grand scheme celebrated an association with both the Howard family and the Catholic community in the city, stretching back centuries.
Canon Paul, how nice to meet you.
Hello, Chris. Lovely to see you. Welcome.
Wow.
Yes.
It's stunning, isn't
Absolutely.
it? And what's extraordinary about it is when you come into St John Cathedral, it's hard to believe it's only just over 100 years old since completion.
Yes.
What was the style that it was created in?
It's called Neo-Gothic, and of course very much at the end of the Victorian period this was a new style to go back to the 13th, 14th centuries. So the Houses of Parliament and Pugin and so on, it was a big movement, Neo-Gothic. So when this was built, it was the height of fashion.
Right, and of course it took about
20 odd years to build, which is not a lot when you consider the size of the building.
Where did the stone come from?
A lot of it's called Beer or Ancaster, and that's in the south of England. But the big prominent features here in the cathedral is this black marble columns, which is called Frosterley marble, and it's from County Durham. Where I'm from, actually. Oh. So it's notable for the fossils and aconites that are in it.
And wonderful cross that we have there, what was, as you were telling me.
Yes, this is the rood screen, which shows the crucifixion and Our Lady and St John. And this was carved at Oberammergau. Absolutely beautiful workmanship. So that's a very prominent part of the cathedral, this rood screen, supported by two angels, of course, on either side.
Oh, yes. And the other feature that I'm fascinated about here is the wonderful stained glass that's here. And you've got it in actually even the small chapels as well as behind the main altar and the Queen window as well.
Yes, this is the glory of St John's Cathedral, the stained glass. It's called the Queen's window. It's Our Lady of Walsingham, the Queen of Heaven, and you have various biblical queens in. There's the Queen of Sheba visiting King Solomon.
Yes. I'd particularly like to see the small chapel of Our Lady of Walsingham.
Oh yes, this is really interesting.
Thank
if
you.
You'd like to come over.
Yes.
Right, so we're passing here the big Queen's window, which we had a good look at earlier on.
Yes.
And now we're walking into the Walsingham Chapel, which is the smallest chapel in the cathedral.
Right.
But it's a very fine example of stained glass work and wood carving. It's the story of Walsingham, the shrine of Our Lady in Norfolk, and the statue there. This was all carved in 1937. But the windows here are glorious, this lovely rich blue again, and Our Lady of Walsingham. And it tells the story of the setting up of the shrine and its destruction at the Reformation.
Oh, yes.
And then the restoration in the 1930s at the bottom.
And I love the way it does tell the story as we go through. I'm going to be visiting Walsingham in a later episode.
Of course.
And we'll see, I'm sure.
Well, you see, that's the Slipper Chapel. That's the original medieval chapel at the bottom.
Yes.
That grey building. And then it was restored as the national shrine for Catholics in England.
Yes, in the late 19th century.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, Chris, so we've come now to the old high altar area of the cathedral. When it was built, the main altar would be here rather than down in the nave. And this is a particularly beautiful part of the cathedral because it has all this marvellous stained glass again with this very prominent blue. And underneath at the back on the wall, you see these three paintings, which are representatives of the saints of East Anglia for our diocese. Felix, Etheldreda, and Edmund. They're called our patron saints.
And once again, here at the high altar, we've got this magnificent use of marble again.
Absolutely. And all the columns are carved even behind the marble. See there? because this was the centre, the focal point of the cathedral. It's all this distinctive workmanship, which I think makes the cathedral spectacular.
This is a beautiful Grade 1 listed building, and from the top of the tower there is no greater view of our fine city. It is in fact the tallest vantage point in the city. However, getting up there, you do need a good head for heights. Here goes.
There are tower tours available in the summer months on weekends or by special arrangement during the weekdays. They last approximately 50 minutes and it is a spectacular view on a sunny day. You can see north towards the magnificent North Norfolk coast, across the city skyline, and south and west to see the city suburbs spreading out. Since 2010, when the community space called the Narthex was opened, the cathedral garden has come into its own, and I'm meeting with head gardener Zana Foley-Davis.
Zana, bit of hoeing to do today. How are you?
Good morning,
Good
nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. What a beautiful garden you've created here.
Well, thank you very much. When I first came here, this wasn't here.
Right.
The garden belonged to the fathers who live in Cathedral House, and it was a private garden. The community wasn't allowed to use it. But when the Narthex was built, the then manager asked if I would like to try and design a public amenity without changing the ethos of the garden.
Right.
Which I think I've achieved over the years. If you visit the cathedral, as you have done, you'll know it's very architecturally very strong and very straight, which is neo-Gothic. And what I wanted people to do was to come out and go, oh.
And indeed, the visitors do come into the garden and enjoy the scenes. Zana and her team of volunteer gardeners have worked tirelessly to make a peaceful and beautiful haven in the lee of the cathedral. And the garden also produces a marvellous array of fresh fruit and vegetables for everyone to enjoy.
And do you sell the fruit that comes off these?
No, we don't sell it. We let people harvest it, or we harvest it for them, and we just ask for a donation.
Right.
And that gets ploughed back into the garden.
Right.
But I think the star of the show is definitely our mulberry behind me
the
here.
mulberry.
This is a wonderful tree. The estimate is that it's between 80 and 100 years old, which would fit in with the planting of the garden.
And do you get much fruit from it?
We certainly do. It's just jolly difficult to harvest it because when it's ripe, you get hold of it and it squidges in your hand. It's like blood on your hands. And when they aren't ripe, you can pull them off and then they're sour. So it's a really clever tree. It knows how to hang on to its fruit.
Until 1976, when this became the Cathedral of the Diocese of East Anglia, it was thought to be the largest parish church in all of England. It's hard to believe when you step inside that it was only completed just a century ago. It has the aura of an older and more established building. And the development of the Narthex just 6 years ago has clearly been a huge bonus for the many worshippers here and indeed the thousands of visitors that come annually.